Sandy Koufax walked out to the mound to pitch a fateful ninth, where he turned in a no-hitter. But tonight, September the 9th, 1965, he made the toughest walk of his career, I'm sure, because through 8 innings, he has pitched a perfect game. He has struck out 11. He has retired 24 consecutive batters. And the first man he will look at is catcher Chris Krug, big right-hand hitter. Fly to center, grounded to short. Dick Tracewski is now at second base, and Koufax ready and delivers. Curve ball for a strike. 0-1 the count to Chris Krug. Out on deck to pinch hit is one of the men we mentioned earlier as a possible Joey Amalfitano. Here's the strike one pitch to Krug. Fastball swung on and missed. Strike 2. And you can almost taste the pressure now. Koufax lifted his cap, ran his fingers through his black hair, then pulled the cap back down, fussing at the bill. Krug must feel it, too, as he backs out, heaves a sigh, took off his helmet, put it back on, and steps back up to the plate. Tracewski is over to his right to fill up the middle. Kennedy is deep to guard the line. The strike 2 pitch on the way. Fastball outside, ball 1. Krug started to go after it and held up, and Torborg held the ball high in the air, trying to convince Vargo, but Eddie said no, sir. 1-2, the count to Chris Krug. It is 9:41 p.m. on September the 9th. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Curveball, tapped foul off to the left of the plate. The Dodgers defensively. In this spine-tingling moment, Sandy Koufax and Jeff Torborg. The boys who will try and stop anything hit their way. Wes Parker, Dick Tracewski, Maury Wills, and John Kennedy. The outfield of Lou Johnson, Willie Davis, and Ron Fairley. And there's 29,000 people in the ballpark and 1 million butterflies. 29,139 paid. Koufax into his windup, and the 1-2 pitch. Fastball foul, back out of play. In the Dodger dugout, Al Ferrara gets up and walks down near the runway. And it begins to get tough to be a teammate and sit in the dugout and have to watch. Sandy, back of the rubber, now toes it. All the boys in the bullpen straining to get a better look as they look through the wire fence in left field. 1-2, the count to Chris Krug. Koufax, feet together, now to his windup in the 1-2 pitch. Fastball outside, ball 2. A lot of people in the ballpark now are starting to see the pitches with their heart. The pitch was outside. Torborg tried to pull it over the plate, but Vargo, an experienced umpire, wouldn't go for it. 2-2, the count to Chris Krug. Sandy reading signs, into his windup, 2-2 pitch. Fastball, got him swinging. Sandy Koufax has struck out 12. He is 2 outs away from a perfect game. Here is Joe Amalfitano to pinch hit for Don Kessinger. Amalfitano is from Southern California, from San Pedro. He was an original bonus boy with the Giants. Joey's been around, and as we mentioned earlier, he has helped to beat the Dodgers twice. And on deck is Harvey Keene. Kennedy is tight to the bag at third. The fastball, a strike. 0-1 with 1 out in the 9th inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Sandy reading into his windup, and the strike 1 pitch. Curveball, tap foul. 0-2. And Amalfitano walks away and shakes himself a little bit and swings the bat. And Koufax, with a new ball, takes a hitch at his belt and walks behind the mound. I would think that the mound at Dodger Stadium right now is the loneliest place in the world. Sandy fussing Looks in to get his sign. 0-2 to Amalfitano. The strike 2 pitch to Joe. Fastball swung on and missed. Strike 3. He is 1 out away from the promised land. And Harvey Keene is coming up. So Harvey Keene is batting for Bob Henley. The time on the scoreboard is 9:44. The date, September the 9th, 1965. And Koufax working on veteran Harvey Keene. Sandy into his windup, and the pitch, a fastball for a strike. He has struck out, by the way, 5 consecutive batters. And that's gone unnoticed. Sandy ready, and the strike 1 pitch. Very high, and he lost his hat. He really forced that one. That's only the second time tonight where I have had the feeling that Sandy threw instead of pitched, trying to get that little extra. And that time he tried so hard his hat fell off. He took an extremely long stride to the plate, and Torborg had to go up to get it. 1-1 to Harvey Keene. Now he's ready. Fastball high, ball 2. You can't blame a man for pushing just a little bit now. Sandy backs off, mops his forehead, runs his left index finger along his forehead, dries it off on his left pants leg. All the while, Keene just waiting. Now Sandy looks in. Into his windup, and the 2-1 pitch to Keene. Swung on and missed. Strike 2. It is 9:46 p.m. 2-2 to Harvey Keene. 1 strike away. Sandy into his windup. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. A perfect game. Scoreboard in right field. It is 9:46 p.m. in the city of the Angels, Los Angeles, California. And a crowd of 29,139 just sitting in to see the only pitcher in baseball history to hurl 4 no-hit, no-run games. He has done it 4 straight years, and now he capped it on his 4th no-hitter. He made it a perfect game. And Sandy Koufax, whose name will always remind you of strikeouts, did it with a flourish. He struck out the last 6 consecutive batters. So when he wrote his name in capital letters in the record books, that K stands out even more than the OUFAX.
Leagues, the major leagues. Well, there's never been better poetry in motion on the air than this call. And in 1995, we asked Vin Scully to find out why he called the time in that broadcast, why he called the time every minute as the perfect game reached its climax.
Every time I do a game that's a potential no-hitter, when it comes to the 9th inning, the engineer in the studio automatically records the 9th inning. And it doesn't make any difference whether it's a Dodger or not, because if it's the opposition, we give him the tape. So he has it for the rest of his life. Dennis Martinez, for instance, he has the tape of his 9th inning when he pitched the perfect game against the Dodgers. Anyway, Sandy Koufax had already pitched 3 no-hitters. And when I do the tape of a guy who's pitching a no-hitter, for his benefit only, I always put the date on the tape. So that 30 years from now, when he's playing it for his grandchildren, he will hear that on July so-and-so, 19th. So I do that as a matter of course. Well, now I've done that 3 times for Sandy Koufax. So as we were coming to the ninth inning, I wasn't so wrapped up in the perfect game and all of that drama as I was thinking, what could I do to make this a little extra special in case Sandy does it? And for some reason, I will never know why, because it means nothing to a baseball game, I started to give the time. And so as he walked out to the mound, I'm saying, and so at 9:48 p.m. on this Sept 1965 at Dodger Stadium, Sandy Koufax. And then as each out was recorded, I would give the time, only thinking that this will be fun for Sandy to have 30 years from now, 40 years from now. Well, when the game ended, the next day, the one thing everybody talked about was how dramatic it was that I was giving the time, thinking I had this great sense of theater, when all the while, all I was trying to do was give Sandy a little something extra for the tape.